Hello, meat bags. So, today I'm going to just take you along with me as I make some lunch for myself. This is just strictly entertainment as my work emails are going off in the background. So this is not like a specific kind of recipe or something. I'm just going to show you and take you with me as I create some lunch for myself. So stop being hungry. Let's go do this. Alright, so I love to have some sweet tea with each of my meals. Don't judge me. Today I'm using this lemon iced tea. I think it came from Randall's or Kroger's, just in case you were interested in getting yourself some. But I'm going to take one tea bag, and I really just make enough for lunch and dinner. And so I am going to take 16 ounces of water. If you like your tea a little bit more strong, you can definitely use 2 tea bags. But I am going to put the 1 tea bag into the glass and then also add a little bit of basil. So did you know, I'm sure you did, but you can flavor your tea with herbs. And I love to do this with basil, some fresh basil. It's almost summertime. The basil is fragrant and delicious, and it will add a little something extra to your tea. You can also make some basil flavored simple syrup if you are interested in doing that. Next, I'm going to go over and start to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. And now I'm going to prepare my pan with some foil and baking paper or parchment paper to put my salmon on. So I'm taking my foil and I'm going to crease the edges of the piece of foil up. So I kind of make like a boat to keep all of the drippings and the oil or whatever inside. Now I'm adding my baking paper or parchment paper, whatever you like to call it, to the foil, and that is what the food sits on top of. Martha said don't bake on foil, so I don't anymore. I don't know why. Okay, so now I have my salmon from Whole Foods, $14 almost for 2 servings of salmon. So you guys, grocery prices are just out of the world right now. But this is some dill and garlic salmon. I am going to add just a teeny bit more of seasoning because I do find that pre-seasoned food from Whole Foods is just a teeny bit under-seasoned for my liking. So I added some garlic powder and some salt, and also a little bit of pepper. So you can tell that I added just like a pinch of each of those ingredients and sprinkled across, the top. And then I'm adding a little bit of oil just to make sure like the fish doesn't burn and just to give it a little bit more moisture in the oven. So now I'm going to put the salmon into my preheated oven. There we go. A+ camera work, right? Are you guys like super impressed? All right, so I'm putting my salmon into the oven, 400 degrees, and it depends on how well you like your salmon done, but I left it in there for about 15 to 17 minutes. Next, moving on to my green beans. So I am slicing up a quarter of an onion very thinly. Everything that you see me making is enough for 2 servings. So I made this yesterday, ate lunch, and then I ate lunch again with the rest of the food that you see me cooking. So here I am going to start my water to start boiling, and I'm going to add some quinoa to it. But first, I'm going to put in the chicken bouillon powder. This is from Goya. You can get this stuff from Target, Kroger's, Randall's, Walmart. Basically everywhere sells this. except Whole Foods maybe. I don't know if Whole Foods sells this, but I think I got this from Walmart or Target. And so I put in half of a packet. I am continuing to focus on lowering my carbs. So for 2 servings of food, I only added a quarter of a cup of white quinoa and half of a packet of chicken bouillon. So that does not make a lot of quinoa. If you're not watching your carb intake, then definitely, cook yourself like more than that. But I just made a little bit, so I'd have a little bit on the side. So I am stirring in the chicken bouillon into the water, the boiling water. And then eventually I did put the quinoa into the water when it was boiling. So moving back over to the green beans, I actually forgot to start my water to start boiling. So that's why these steps are a little bit out of order. This is just real life, y'all, and sometimes I mess up. So going back over here to the green beans, I have my pan, and you will see in a moment, this is not the right pan for green beans, like at all. But I added a little bit of olive oil to the bottom of the pan, and I let it start to heat up. And then I added just the onions. I softened the onions a bit first before adding the garlic. So if you are using both onion and garlic fresh, like I am using, you can usually let your onions start to soften a little bit more because they take more time and they are a little harder to burn than garlic. So I'm adding some salt and pepper to my onions just to help them go along with getting softened. The salt does that, actually. And now I have this small bag of green beans, but the pan is too small for the small bag of green beans. I also noticed that even though the bag said that the green beans were trimmed, I did find about four or five green beans that still had like the stems. I had to remove those manually. That's okay, the rest of it was done for me. So now I'm salting and peppering my green beans. And I'm adding some garlic powder. So even though I use fresh, I also usually throw in some powdered onion and garlic as well. So yeah, you can definitely see that this pot is way too narrow. The circumference is not enough, not wide enough, whatever the right term is. So yeah, use a skillet. Do as I say, not as you have seen me do here. So now that the green beans have had a little bit of time to start to soften, the onions are softened, I stirred in just a ridiculous amount of garlic. I love those garlicky green beans from the Chinese restaurants, and I don't know how to make those yet, so I'm starting by just adding a lot of garlic to what I do know how to make. But comment below if you'd like me to learn how to make those garlicky green beans from your favorite Chinese restaurant. Next, I added in a little bit of butter. The butter just gives the green beans a little bit of a sauce and makes them pretty, honestly. It makes them kind of shiny and appetizing to look at, and that's always nice, right? So that's why I stirred in the little bit of butter. Next, you can see that I have cut the salmon in half, and like I said, I did eat this yesterday, and then I ate the rest of this today before I am posting this video. So this is definitely real life. But the thing about making content for YouTube is that you want things to be pretty, and sometimes I forget to make it pretty because to me, I'm just making lunch. I have to remember that this is going to go on the internet as well. So I have to make my salmon look somewhat presentable. And then I stirred the green beans up just to make sure that the garlic and the onions, it's kind of evenly distributed throughout the dish. So that is what I'm doing here. And now I'm going to serve myself a very big portion of green beans. If you want to get full off green beans, cook the whole pack and eat half because that really worked for me. You can also see over here on the side that I have an apple and some crunchy peanut butter, and that is going to be my so-called dessert. It's not real dessert, but that is my dessert for lunch. And then I'm taking just a little bit, I think it'll be about 3 or 4 heaping tablespoons of the chicken bouillon quinoa, and I'm going to add that as my healthy carb source on the side. And the very last thing that you can do as a little treat for yourself, or if you are also making content for the internet, is to sprinkle over a little bit of dried parsley. You could also use chives or green onions. Some really fresh green onions would be nice. But I do think this turned out very nice. I took my plate outside under some beautiful natural light to give you a pretty view of it. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you would add or do differently. And while you're poking around in YouTube land, make sure to subscribe to the Basic Ass Cooking channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.